Good morning and welcome to today's newspaper review on Emirates Radio. My name is Latifah Ibrahim Arowona. Stay with us. And on today's newspaper review, we'll have the Daily Post newspaper, Punch newspaper, the Daily Trust, Online News, Royal News, Vanguard, and the Leadership newspaper. And on the Daily Post newspaper this morning, court fixes date to rule on NNPCL's objection against Dangote's refinery suit. Justice Inyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court, Abuja, will deliver his ruling on the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPCL's) preliminary objection against a suit filed by the Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemicals over oil import license disputes on March 8, 2025. ECOWAS scheduled the matter after the NNPCL's lawyer Ademola Abimbola San and John Ibrahim San presented their arguments and adopted their process for and against the suits. Recall that the judge had fixed Wednesday for the hearing of the NNPCL's plenary objection after the Dangote Refinery's lawyer told the court that they were yet to file their response to the application. Still on the Vanguard newspaper this morning, Telecom Tariff, Central Bank Dialogue urges NLC to prioritize interests of Nigerians. The Center for Good Governance, CGG, has urged the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, and the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, to consider the interests of Nigerians in the ongoing dialogue over the 50% hike in telecom tariff. A nationwide protest called by organized labor over the tariff hike slated for February 4, 2025 was called off by the NLC after the government set up a panel for further dialogue on the matter. Newsmen reported that the NLC had rejected the 50% tariff hike, proposing a 5% tariff hike. The labor organization also wrote to its affiliate unions and state councils to ensure total and full mobilization of workers and allies for a nationwide protest on February 4th. However, after a meeting with the government officials at the office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federations on Monday night, the NLC resolved to halt the demonstration pending further discussions. Still on the Daily Post newspaper this morning, allow Governor Sani to restore peace in Kaduna, Forum tells REVEIW. The Kaduna Good Governance Forum, KGGF, has asked the former Kaduna State Governor, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, to allow his successor, Uba Sani, to restore peace to the state. The forum equally condemned what it described as the harassment and destruction of the Sani's administration by El-Rufai. Further accusing El-Rufai for threatening Sani with the 2027 general elections, the group condemned what it described as the former governor's alleged attempt to rewrite history and assert himself as the owner of Kaduna State. Still on the Daily Post newspaper this morning, 4 suspects held over alleged criminal conspiracy, extortion, and kidnap threat. 4 suspects are in police nets in Kwara State over alleged criminal conspiracy, extortion, and kidnap threats. They are Tukur Muhammad, Yahya Abdullahi, Umar Sani, and Dairu Ishaku, according to a statement by the spokesman of the State Police Command, SP Adetong Ejire Adeyemi, in Ilorin on Thursday, on January 15, 2025, at about 6:30, a resident of Abuja At Juba Fulani camp, Elisha Baruba discovered a white paper placed at the front door of his residence with 2 phone numbers written on it. Upon calling one of the numbers, the receiver threatened to kidnap him and his family unless a ransom of 20 million naira was paid. After negotiations, the demand was reduced to 4 million naira. The victims promptly reported the case to the police. Through intelligence-driven operations, operatives from the State Criminal Investigation Department Anti-Kidnapping Squad successfully tracked the identified phone number, leading to the arrest of 2 suspects. They are Tukur Muhammad and Yahya Abdullahi. And lastly, on the Daily Post newspaper this morning, pregnant woman dies as doctor allegedly watches YouTube video to perform operation in Imo. A pregnant woman has lost her life after a doctor reportedly performed a cesarean section on her with the help of a YouTube video in Imo State. Newsmen report that CS is a surgical delivery of a baby through a cut made in the birth's parent's abdomen and uterus. The deceased husband, Onyekachi Eze, in a video on social media was accompanied by the Imo State Police Command by popular Nollywood producer Stanley on top to report the incident on Tuesday. Eze disclosed that the incident happened at Lebet Hospital in Owerri, the Imo State capital. Narrating the incident, Eze said, "I carried my wife to the hospital when she was in labor, and the doctor said she needs to undergo an operation because she was bleeding. So the female doctor called another doctor to come and operate on her right in my presence. They were using their phones to watch a YouTube video on how to perform surgery, and I lost my wife and my baby during the process." You are still listening to a newspaper review on Emirates Radio, and now to the Punch newspaper. Sokoto warns parents resisting polio immunizations. Sokoto State has issued a stern warning to parents resisting polio immunization, stressing that non-compliance will not be tolerated in the state's fight to eradicate the disease. In a directive aimed at curbing resistance, the state has mandated its officials to report any cases of parents hindering immunization efforts during vaccination campaigns. The directive was announced by Sokoto's Deputy Governor, Idris Gobir, at a United Nations representatives meeting held on Wednesday at the Command Guest Inn in Sokoto. Still on the Punch newspaper this morning, 54 trillion naira budgets, experts divided over raise. Federal government adds 4.5 trillion naira agri infrastructure funds. Some players in the Nigeria economy had shared different views following the decision of the federal government to increase the 2025 appropriation bill from 49.7 trillion naira to 54.2 trillion naira on the back of additional revenues generated by key government agencies. On Wednesday, letters from President Bola Tinubu were read on the floor of the Senate indicating the adjustments in the yet-to-be-passed budget. The president conveyed the budget adjustment in separate letters sent to both Senate and the House of Representatives, which were read during Wednesday's plenary by the Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Tinubu presented a 49.7 trillion naira budget proposal themed Budgets of Restoration, Securing Peace, Rebuilding Prosperity to the National Assembly in November. Still on the Punch newspaper, Abuja residents lament as NNPCL shuts stations over logistic issues. Residents of the Federal Capital Territory have been left stranded and grappling with fuel with fuel shortages following the sudden closure of several retail outlets owned by the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited within the capital city. It was gathered that the station closed for some days, were allegedly ordered by the management of the national oil firms will continue till next week. The closure attributed to logistic challenges have led to long queues at remaining stations, with many motorists and commuters facing hours of delays. As multiple stations visited by newsmen on Wednesday, such as those at Lugbe Airport Road, Zone 3, Life Camp, and Kubwa motorists were turned away while attendants sat idly. Still on the Punch newspaper this morning, NMA MDCAN excited as Tinubu extend doctors' retirement age. The Nigerian Medical Association and the Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria have lauded President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for approval and increase in the retirement age of doctors and other health workers in the country from 60 to 65 years. According to them, the approval is a right step in the right direction and it will help to address the gap in the country's human resources for health. The NMA in the news on its website, signed by its National Publicity Secretary, Dr. Manir Bature, on Wednesday, noted that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved an increase in the retirement age for doctors and other health workers from 60 to 65. Still on the Punch newspaper this morning, Tinubu departs Abuja for France ahead of AU summit in Ethiopia. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will depart Abuja on Wednesday for Paris, France, on a private visit en route to Addis Ababa, the Ethiopian capital. While in France, Tinubu will meet with his French counterpart, President Emmanuel Macron. The President's Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, disclosed this in a statement on Wednesday titled, President Tinubu departs for France ahead of the AU summit in Addis Ababa. It reads, in Addis Ababa, President Tinubu will join African leaders at the 46th Ordinary Session of the Executive Council and the 38th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of the AU Heads of State, scheduled from February 12 to 16, 2025. The President will arrive in Addis Ababa early next week for the African Union Summit. And lastly, on the Punch newspaper this morning, Nigeria didn't learn from civil war, says Dogara. Former Speaker of the House of Representatives Yakub Dogara has expressed concerns that Nigeria has not learned from the lessons of its civil war, as evidenced by the rise of secessional movements in the country. In his keynote address to the World Interfaith Harmony Week Conference and Awards held at the Trinchard Hall, University of Ibadan, Oyo State, Dogara noted that the lack of effective nation building since independence has led to the emergence of groups advocating for secession. Dogara, who was represented by Timothy Golu, remarked, "We have had a number of crises since independence, the worst of which was the Civil War of the 1966 to 1970. Seems we didn't learn much from that sordid episode. After all, the evidence of our abysmal failure at nation building are right under our noses. The information or the rise of secessionist groups such as the movements of the emancipation of the Niger Delta Frontier Force, Indigenous People of Biafra, Oduduwa People's Congress and others." He also decried the escalating insecurity in Nigeria, noting that has been more terrorized since the return to democracy. You're still listening to the newspaper review on Emirates Radio, and the next newspaper is the Daily Trust newspaper. CBN restricts BDCs to $25,000 FX weekly, one dealer bank. The Central Bank of Nigeria yesterday released new guidelines which permits bureau de change operators to operate up to $250,000 weekly from authorized dealer banks to meet retail market demands. In a circular signed by Dr. W.J. Kanya, the acting director of the Trade and Exchange Department at the CBN, the Apex Bank also outlined the compliance requirements to ensure transparency and curb potential forex misissues. Under the new regulations, BDCs are expected to source for the allotted forex from a single authorized dealer bank per week, as the restrictions is aimed at preventing speculative activity and ensuring better oversight. Still on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, angry mom drowns 6-year-old daughter in Bayelsa River. Tragedy struck at REVEIW community in southern Ijaw local government area of Bayelsa State when a woman, Madam Stella, drowned her 6-year-old daughter, Rachel, in a river out of anger. According to witnesses, Rachel had gone to bath at the waterfront despite repeated warning from her mother. When her mother found her at the river, she became enraged. Despite warnings to leave the water, Rachel refused, prompting her mother to act violently, a witness said. In a fit of anger, Madam Stella reportedly grabbed Rachel's hand and threw her into the deep water twice, leading to the child's tragic death. Following the incident, concerned community members confronted the mother, who confessed to her actions, claiming she had not intended to kill her daughter. The incident has left the Okobi community in shock, with a family member, Jeff Nation, expressing his devastation. I have already lost 2 family members this year, but this one is the most painful and heartbreaking, he lamented. Still on Daily Trust newspaper this morning, 3 injured in Adamawa tanker explosions. 3 persons sustained various degrees of injuries in a tanker explosion along Newman Road, Jamaica in Yola, Adamawa State. The police and the Federal Fire Service in Adamawa confirmed this to the news agency of the Nigerian in Yola, saying that no life was lost in the incident. Aliyu Abubakar, Deputy Superintendent of the Fire at the Federal Fire Service, said the service received information about the fire incident at 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday and responded immediately. He said various agencies such as the National Emergency Management Agency, the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, and both states and federal fire stations worked together to control the blaze. FAN pensioners threaten protests over minimum wage and others. Pensioners of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAN, has concluded plans to embark on a nationwide protest over the challenges being faced by them. The pensioners, under the aegis of the Federal Parastatal and Private Sector Pensioners Association of Nigeria, during their general meeting at the Murtala Muhammad Airport, Ikeja, Lagos, explained that they were still being paid the old minimum wage of 33,000 naira. Addressing over 1,000 pensioners, the General Secretary of the NUP and FAN branch, Comrade Emeka Njoku, said the union had made efforts to meet the new FAN management board without results. He stated that medical facilities granted in the past years to FAN pensioners are no longer functioning. He also explained that they had an agreement with fund management in 2002, which was applied by the previous management, that whenever there was a salary increase, pensions should also be increased. Previous management will call us and present the proposal to us and examine if it corresponds with the salary in 2002 agreement, but they have ignored our letter and kept quiet. Lastly, on the New Daily Trust newspaper this morning, reps to probe illegal NIN linking by telecom operators. The House of Representatives on Wednesday called on the Nigerian Communication Commission (NCC) to launch investigation into alleged unsolicited and illegal linking of other phone numbers to subscribers' national identification numbers mobile lines by telecom service providers. This is as the House also mandated its Committee on Communications and Interior to conduct a thorough investigation and report back within 4 weeks to further legislative action. The resolutions follow the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance moved by Rep. Patrick Umo and Prof. Julius Ubovere, who expressed concern that telecom operators have been linking subscribers' NIN to other lines without their consent, exposing them to identity theft, financial fraud, and wrongful criminal implications. The lawmakers noted that the practice violates the Nigerian Data Protection Act 2023 and the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation 2019, which guarantees the right to privacy and personal data protection. You're still listening to Newspaper Review on Emirates Radio, and now to the Royal News Online newspaper. Abuse of power. Call IGP Egbetogun to order, CSO tells Tinubu. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been called upon to immediately call the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetogun, to order in his continuous abuse of power against Nigerian citizens and rule of law. The civil society organization, the Initiative Against Human Rights Abuse and Torture, which made the call on Wednesday in Abuja, alleged that the IGP has been using his office to protect highly placed fraudulent persons from being made to face music of misdeed. The director of the civil group, Barrister Maxwell Chibuike Okwara, at a press conference in Abuja, specifically accused the police chief of shooting one Rebecca Omokomo Godwin Isaac, aka Bilikusi Ishaku Aliyu, who was allegedly to have engaged in conspiracy, forgery of titles, theft, criminal trespass, and fraudulent sales of properties at plots 1861, 1862, 1863 at Katampe and plot 4022 at Gusape district in Abuja. The Abuja lawyers said that the IGP insisted of acting on the petition against the alleged fraudulent person, opted to shield her from being brought to book on the strength of the complaint. Still on the Royal News Online newspaper, Oba of Orile-Ife, Abdulsemiu Ogunjobi in Ilaro prison. The suspended traditional ruler of Orile-Ife, Oba Abdulsemiu Ogunjobi, has been remanded at the Ilaro Correctional Center in Ogun State after failing to meet his bail conditions. The spokesperson for the correctional facility, Yinka Odukoya, confirmed this to Newsmen Online on Wednesday, stating that the monarch remained in custody as he had yet to perfect his bail. Odukoya said, "Yes, he is in our custody, which means he has been unable to meet the bail conditions granted by the court yesterday. However, as soon as he does, he will be released." The Ogun State Police Command had on Tuesday arraigned the suspended monarch over a viral video in which he was seen assault a 73-year-old man, Abraham Ariola. According to the charge sheet MH2BHC/2025, the suspended monarch was accused of conspiracy, assault, and conduct likely to cause a breach of the peace. And lastly, on the online royal newspaper, Senate maps out strategic moves against Japa syndrome. The Senate, through its Committee on Diaspora and Non-Governmental Organization on Wednesday, declared that the mass migration, otherwise known as Japa, by Nigerians to overseas country on daily basis must be reversed. The committee, which is now chaired by Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, made the declaration at its maiden meeting held in the hearing room 305 of the Senate wing of the National Assembly. Senator Natasha, at the well-attended meeting, said reversal of Japa syndrome will be at the front bureau of action by the committee because the tide must be stemmed. This committee will do this by collaborating with the relevant stakeholders in the area of making Nigerian, particularly youth, to believe more in their country and not the mindset of wanting to rush out of the country. Patriotism is earned and not enforced or forced, making us identify a few steps that we can use in building our economy, here using our diaspora energy. And on Leadership newspaper this morning, Kwara South youth demand governorship seat. The youth of Kwara South gathered en masse in Omuaran, Irekwadun local government area of the state to chart a new course for their political future at the summit organized by Kwara South young stakeholders with the theme Kwara 2027, the Kwara South Youth Perspective. Witnessed an overwhelming turnout, the summit's coordinator, Comrade Abiola Lawal, set the tone for the discussion with a stirring declaration that Kwara South must rise to the occasion and play a decisive role in 2027 gubernatorial election. He urged unity, strategic planning, and unwavering commitment to ensuring the emergence of a governor from the district. And lastly, on Leadership newspaper, on today's newspaper review, we have the TikTok deletes over 2 million videos in Nigeria for policy violations. Social media giant TikTok has reaffirmed its commitment to online safety by removing more than 2 million videos in Nigeria between July and September 2024 for violating its community guidelines. According to its Q3 Community Guidelines Enforcement Reports, 99.1% of those videos were taken down within 24 hours of being posted. With millions of videos uploaded daily by its over 1 billion users worldwide, TikTok has continued to improve its content moderation effort through advanced technology. The platform's proactive detection rate has now reached 98.2% globally, allowing it to identify and remove harmful content before it reaches viewer. Between July and September 2024, TikTok removed over 147 million videos worldwide, with 118 million taken down through automation. In Nigeria, 92.1% of all removed videos were taken down before any users reported them, reflecting the platform's proactive moderation strategy. And that brings us to the end of newspaper review of today on Emirates Radio. And thank you for listening. You can join us live on all of our programs on our Facebook channel, X, TikTok, formerly Twitter, and you can watch us live on YouTube or download our app on the Google Play Store. Thank you for listening and have an amazing day. My name is Latifah Ibrahim Arowona. Stay blessed.